What's up, Vidova? So today I have an amazing guest. I have Bryan with me. Bryan, thank you so much for accepting the invite. More than 1 year ago, we did the podcast together, and I thought it was a great time to have you back. There is a lot of things to talk about. I have 5 questions for you, and I believe a couple of them will be quite spicy. So my viewers are up to a great conversation. But yeah, how you have been doing, and feel free to introduce to my viewers. Probably everyone knows you, but still feel free.
Well, thank you, Andre. Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year
Yeah.
that we've literally sat down. It's crazy how time goes by so fast. Like I always tell people, like we shouldn't make this like a yearly thing. It needs to be a little bit more than one per year. But no, guys, my name's Bryan. I run the Sunday League Investors account. Basically, we do a lot of everything with soccer cards. Basically, we have a community that just soccer card fanatics, and also our business is mainly breaking, do a ton of breaks in soccer cards in that niche, that hobby. And yeah, man, I've been doing well. I do go to a lot of shows. I still love going to shows. I still love buying stuff for the PC or doing like some sort of trade up challenge. Those juices will always be there, but primarily we're really focusing on building our breaking business.
No, for sure. Yeah, that's part of the conversation today because 1 year ago, I believe one year ago you already had something, but not in the same level as you have right now. So I think even again we go back to that topic, but again I don't participate in breaks to be honest. But I think if my viewers want to participate, you are probably one of the best guys I know. So just
Well, I hate to interrupt, but I think we just started when we first started
oh
talking
really?
to you last year. I think that
Last
was
year, yeah.
like a year, literally last year. I think we just were 2 or 3 weeks in. Because we started in July
Exactly.
last year.
That's the
Yeah,
idea I also have. At the time, I don't believe we end up speaking a lot about that.
no.
But yeah, this year I believe makes a bit more sense. So Bryan, you know how this works. I have 5 questions for you. Again, we don't have to stay very attached to them. It's basically to start the conversation. But let me start with the question number one. So basically, your thoughts about the national this year. I did not went. You went as a vendor, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually really sad. I thought you were coming, Andre.
No, I guess off camera I can tell you the reason. I didn't, but for sure I cannot tell you. I will tell in the future to my viewers, but not now. But basically,
Okay,
how do
okay.
you feel about the soccer card market now versus previous years? Looking at the national, since you went to a couple of them already.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is I always try to judge the certain metrics I always think about, right? Like that's just like in my head, nothing specific. But I always think about how many tables contain soccer cards at the national. It almost felt like it was legitimately the same. And I don't think it's because of the market tendencies or the feeling of the market, right? It's more because unfortunately the hobby is still run by certain people that are grandfathered in, right? There's nothing wrong with them being grandfathered in, but I think a lot of the sentiment of the national was that there was not that many soccer card tables. There's a ton of vintage baseball, right? There's like too much vintage baseball, right? Which I know that's like the backbone of the hobby, whatever. But the idea though is there was not as much diversity as I would have loved to see. But the thing is, from 1 year ago, it feels like things have changed a little bit, like consumers, how they buy cards, how they trade cards. Hate to be cliche, but it really does feel like people were buying things for their personal collection, more so than last year. Last year I felt like a trading game, but this year I felt a little different, where people were buying things to essentially they had their one or two things they're looking for. If we were lucky enough to have it, they're going to get it. And the thing is, though, with that being said, I felt like the demand for soccer was very, very strong. But this is all sentiment. There's no actual data. I'm backing this up. We went to two soccer trade nights that I've never been a part of, where there were tons of people. I mean, people in the lobby, people were filled up to the brim on Saturday night with Wicked soccer cards. Pat Pulls did one on Friday, and they're all filled to the brim. And that was really encouraging to see because I don't believe because I feel like this year it wasn't that many people from overseas that came over, and essentially it was almost all people in the states, which is really encouraging because you want to see the sport grow. You see MLS with Messi, like that's all playing a part of it, and it's really encouraging. However, I think people that have the sentiment of oh the it wasn't as much soccer, it's not as exciting. I think their expectation was just a little too high, right? We talked about this. We talked about how after the World Cup, it was going to be gloom and doom, right? Like
Yeah,
single
yeah.
cards were going to just get destroyed, and some of it got destroyed. Like I think the places where like $500 to $1,000 got destroyed, right? Because I my argument always is now how many cards are really over $500, like are actually worth $500? Not very many in the soccer space, but that's okay.
Agree.
Um, I think it's okay that people could buy cards for $50 and be happy. Right.
No, for
So
sure.
that's kind of like what I've seen in the market so far. Again, one man's point of view, right? And I'm obviously biased, but that's literally what that's how I felt so far from that national.
No, great answer, Brian. I mean, I talked with other people that also went, and they share very similar to the story was very similar to yours. My question still related with the national is, to be fair, I think you end up explaining quite well your thoughts. But do you believe? And I guess you kind of implied that to be fair. But do you believe we are entering more a collector market than a flipper? Because the thing that you are saying goes very well in that direction. That if you remember the mania 1 year ago, 2 years, let's say 2 years, 3 years ago, everyone was buying a card to put on eBay to sell for 2x, 3x, or to grade with PSA. You put inside
Yeah.
of a plastic and you make stonks. And that's not happening right now, at least not that easy. And I think that makes our market a bit healthier. I also believe we still need flippers because that increases cash flow and liquidity around cards. But what are your thoughts about that? Do you believe the next 1 year, 2 years will still follow this trend almost more a collector's market than a flipper or even an investor market?
I think there'll still be an investor market. I just think that you have to be very good. I
Yeah.
don't think that it's as easy the last few years. You literally did not need a brain to make money. And I think people thought the people that didn't have a brain thought they were the kings, and then
Yeah.
they got caught with their pants down. But I think there's a lot of room in investing and flipping. And I think I mean, in my point of view, you do need flippers, right? There's people going to
Of
be
course.
that would like to, that are collecting that needs to get cashed out for like whatever percentage, right? And the flipper needs to move it, right? There's like I think there's a whole entire chain reaction thing. However, though, I think you see less of it. I think we always talk about this with me and Troy and the boys. Soccer collectors are just very smart. They're very aware. I think that they know when. I think they have a better sense of feeling of are we getting arbitraged, right? Is this the right move? So it's all these things that I think other sports doesn't. At least I'm not in it, but I've heard at least in here, it's healthy. The idea is I think we need to see more shows outside the country, right? There's actually shows coming up in the States that have more just soccer based collectors. And I think the biggest thing is trying to get into the mainstream, right? How do we get into the mainstream is really my biggest question. I really do see soccer cards being like almost their own identity,
I agree
almost
with
like
that totally.
Pokemon,
Yeah.
right? Like just completely different. Like the content that we see now, the content we talk about now, the stuff that we talk about right now, 10 years ago, it's going to be so different. And I don't know what's going to be, but I do think it could be way more mainstream than it is now.
No, for sure. No, great. Again, another great answer. I'm happy that we have a bit less flippers and more collectors because I think that makes our market grow in an organic way.
Yes.
2 years ago felt a bit forced, and if you are a collector like me, for example, it was okay. It was good that my cards are up, but in the other hand, if I'm not selling, for me, is actually gives me puts me a problem in my hands, because I think, okay, maybe I should sell, but then I am also a collector. Why I am selling? If I'm trying to buy, I know everything is inflated. So right now the market for me seems quite better, and I really believe, and someone shared this on my Discord, that right now in terms of collectors we are probably at all-time highs. Because
Yeah.
even if is evident that there is less liquidity, is evident that there is less people interacting in our market, but the people that stay, and even more important for me, the people that is coming right now, they will be with us for a long time if everything goes right. So moving to the second question, and this is related with your business. As someone running a breaking business, what new sets do you see potentially doing well long run? Specific first years, and let's say specific sets that end up coming in 2020, 2021 until today.
Man, I'll say this: there's so many sets nowadays.
Yeah.
It's so many sets, and like it's not how it every year is always changing. At first, it was like there's not enough sets. Then afterwards, it was like too many sets with the wrong players, and now it's
Exactly.
like there's a lot of sets with the right players, but there's a lot of sets of those. So people that want to hold on to it, hoping to inflate their value, that may not happen. so like I think for example, I think Kaká is a great example, right? Kaká autos used to go through the roof. Now it's like he's in every set.
Bryan,
Where does
think about
go ahead?
think about Mbappe when the top scrum or something like that for PSG came out. Everyone was paying so much money, and now Mbappe
Yeah,
signs every set. So
yeah,
it is what
yeah.
it
So
is.
like yeah, I mean, there's gonna be there's definitely a supply shock.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. There's definitely way too many sets for demand. But which I also think it plays in the collector's mindset, right? And I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast should be happy about that, right? I
No,
think
I agree.
I hear other people complaining about it, like, oh, there's so many sets, and they also say they're a collector. I'm like, well, this should play in your hand. Like that means you could get these cards for a lot cheaper. So I don't know what it becomes very hypocritical, right? But from a set perspective, I don't think really much changes from like a fundamental per se. Topps Chrome stays the same, right? I think obviously Sapphire stays the same, especially they add new autos. But all the other sets, right? I think the curated sets are really like you have to kind of be thoughtful of those, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I don't think really much changes though. I think right now there's a supply shock, so it's a good, interesting time to get stuff from like EPL Select, right? There's some really nice field level cards that you get for really dirt cheap. I mean, I'm sure someone could back the numbers up, but I just feel like that's a feeling of mine that like it feels too cheap.
But Bryan, what about, for example, sets like a Merlin? For example, I guess let's make this a bit more fun. Do you think there is more demand, for example, for Merlin, the not the Heritage, the Chrome one, or Stadium, for example?
Stadium Club has always been a set that people love. They just don't pay big money for.
Okay.
It's just something that people love. They just don't pay big money for. Merlin Chrome, the what people loved about Merlin Chrome the last few years is that they were able to include rookies that were not included in Topps Chrome,
Yeah,
right? And they did something
because
similar this year. Go ahead.
they have the Europa League license. So, for example, there will be rookies there that are not on Top Scrum because of that
Yeah,
license, and I agree with that. I think that's one of the reasons Merlin tends to do so well, because if there is a rookie card, probably the Merlin have the player there. Think about this. Think about Gonçalo Ramos, for example, is one of the few
yeah,
rookies, but there is more examples. I may not be thinking about. But I agree. I think that's the strongest point for Merlin. But I have another question still related to this. So let's say Merlin beats Stadium. Merlin or Obsidian? What product do you think? Because those are fairly recent products. I believe Obsidian is 2019 and Merlin is
yeah,
2020.
yeah, yeah. Because you have Darwin Nunez in 2019,
Yeah.
right?
Obsidian also have that. Sometimes Obsidian have some weird rookies that don't appear
They
in.
didn't do it that great this year. I wish they did. I thought they were going to do it for this year, where they would have Kavicha and everything.
Oh,
Not
okay.
sure what happened there, but they have some players. But I do think Obsidian. Oh, I think Obsidian takes a cake if it comes to like value.
Okay.
Oh man, I'm gonna get killed with that with the contras and everything. But I think Merlin's just too accessible when it comes to that. Like,
But Bryan,
but
forget value. Tell
yeah.
me just what product have more demand for
Oh,
in your contest, of course.
I think Merlin.
Merlin. Okay.
Yeah, I think Merlin.
Merlin versus Select. This for me is fascinating because I can understand a bit of the trend of the market.
I think there's more demand for Select. I think there's more demand for Select. I think so. Yeah, Merlin is like, it's cool. It's accessible. It's not too expensive, but it's not like Chrome where you get annoyed with it.
Okay, no, makes sense. I mean, I honestly Select when I'm not even sure if it was the EPL or La Liga. Honestly, I don't know. But I know Select at one point everyone was talking about that that product. I think right now the IPC is a bit down already.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To be honest, and you can share your perspective on this. An advice that I give to everyone is, if you like a new set, wait 3 months, 5 months. Most likely things will go down a bit. If you can wait 1 year or 2 years, even better. There will be exceptions, but for the times you miss, you will be okay.
99% of the time.
Yeah.
99% of the time, if you wait 3 or 4 months, you're gonna get a better price.
Bryan,
I'll just be honest with it. Yeah.
One thing that I love nowadays in new sets actually is that they started introducing legends like Zidane, Ronaldo, Van Basten. But I also think people should be careful because now every product is putting those legends. Chrome is putting Obsidian. I don't think so, but there is basically a lot of products now putting those pre-modern legends. But I actually think that's cool because for a long time I thought makes sense to bring back some legends because in the 90s, in the early 2000s, we had nothing. So kind of makes sense to give Zidane collectors, Ronaldo collectors alternatives, especially numbered cards, parallels, etc. Hey guys, quick pause on this one. First of all, hope you are enjoying the video. If that's the case, do not forget to leave a like, but let me share with you 2 things. The first is I have a Patreon community that is growing super fast. I put a lot of content there. If you joined right now, you pay around $10, but you have access to more than 100 exclusive videos. It's an amazing place to learn about the soccer card market, and you also support the channel. Link below the video and also in the comments. The second thing is my Discord server. We are more than 1,000 members. I'm gonna say it again, 1,000 members. And it's an amazing community, an amazing place to interact with me, to interact with other collectors, to learn and share about the soccer card market. Similar to Patreon, link will also be below the video. If $10 is a lot of money to you, don't feel pressure to join the Patreon. For me, it's not super relevant. Of course, I would love to see you there, but at least join the Discord. That's totally free and is an amazing place to learn about the soccer card market, like I said a couple of seconds ago. Now let's continue with this one, and I hope you have fun.
Yeah, so oh man, I might get killed for this too. So I do think that back then paying for a sticker auto of like a legend for like $1,000, $2,000 is ridiculous. Like, I think that's really crazy to me because you look at other sports, they're not that much more expensive. Like they're very accessible, right? And I think we're getting to a market where it's going to become more accessible to get a sticker auto of Ronaldo, right? And that's okay. I think that's completely fine. Obviously, on cards are going to always have a premium just because of how difficult it is. But I think with that though, the values per se, I think it makes a lot of sense where you have more of these players, their legends signing, just because I don't know, there's just like such a nostalgic feeling with it.
No, I agree totally with that, and it's good. I mean, if everyone can have access to an auto, even if it's a sticker auto for Van Basten, I don't know, a random, not a random because those guys are legends, but amazing players. 3 times Ballon d'Or, a random player. No, but yeah, great stuff, my friend. The question number three is a more serious one, I would say. But do you believe regulation would be good for the hobby, specific for breakers?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I'll give you like my quick line is like, yes, I think there should be regulation
Okay.
in some sort of way, some sort of way. However, this is where I have to push back, right? So my issue with this is that what we're seeing right now, the landscape of breaking, um, we're blessed that we're able to build this business without any allocation, right? I mean, we don't know anybody from GTS, Southern Hobby, Fanatics, right?
Okay.
And I think that's super cool that you could be in an open market and build your own business. I know what the reality is going to be. If there is regulation, right, there's going to be people that want to protect their eggs. They want to protect their basket. They want to protect their business. So they'll change the rules up to not really, I don't know, fix the consumer issues, but they're going to fix their issues where there's other people that there's going to be somebody watching this that wants to do their own breaking business, right?
Yeah.
There's no shot for him to make it just because the rules make it so tough for them to even do breaking. And that's where my pushback is with regulation. Now, I do think there should be regulation. There should be some sort of way to figure out who or like some sort of transparent way of seeing where cards go. If there's issues that should be aired out. However, I do think that having regulation is going to be much more tougher than we think. It's not as easy because you're going to have these people that have been in the game for so long that wants to protect their eggs and baskets, and they're worried about innovation. They're worried about competition, so they change the rules. So let's just say SLI Junior wants to play the game, he doesn't have a fair shot. So that's where I have my issues with like regulations because I think consumers it makes sense, but from like an open market, it could be detrimental. But then again, one man's point of view, it's just that what I've seen in the market, what I've seen how this business works. I think that's more the reality.
No, that's a difficult one. I agree in the sense that I think regulation can be good, specific again to protect the consumer, because. But for breakers, I honestly don't think would be that good because there is a good chance that creates some type of monopoly, to certain.
Yeah, it's
And
cartel
and
stuff.
like you said, right now the market is kind of open. The market is regulating itself, and that's good and bad at the same time. But what I would love to see some type of regulation is more about specific advertising that breakers can do, stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
Not
for sure.
look. I honestly don't care if you buy the box from this or that. For me, that's irrelevant. If I, as long I accept your price, that's fine for me. But because if you look at gambling and breaking is a bit related with that. There is a lot of regulation. For example, in TV, at least in Europe, you can only advertise the product at specific hours because maybe there will be kids watching and you don't want that. So I think that applies to social media also, even though that's still a bit wild, but
Yeah, yeah.
applies also to social media. And there is more and more rules every year. And I think that would be good for breaking. And I don't even think that will affect you guys that much. And if you lose one or two buyers at one specific breaking, that can actually be good because maybe those guys will even give you a bad feedback in the sense that they overbought or something. I think people knowing, okay, this is the deal. If you want, that's fine. If you don't, just leave. Understand that breaking is also about having fun. It's just not about, because if you go to
ROI.
yeah, because let's be real, that's difficult. But honestly, you can apply that logic to cards in general. Sometimes people ask me, how can I make money with cards? I mean, there is
That's
better
a
ways to make money,
yeah. I was gonna say like you're kind of already setting yourself on the wrong
Yeah,
foot.
you are already putting yourself in a really, really bad position. Specific because you start putting a lot of pressure. Things have to happen natural. Look, if you
Yeah,
buy a card for $10, if you sell it at a show for $50, that's great, but that's not a business. Okay, you
yeah,
you you have to
yeah,
to to accept what it is. Those $50 will be good to increase your collection. Eventually, may have another flip similar to that. But yeah, this is a sensitive topic, to be honest, regulation. There is a lot of people talking about this. I think Fanatics probably will try to do something, if I had to guess, because,
yeah. They're already trying to do it.
yeah,
Like I hate to interrupt, but like they're already trying to do it. They're gonna they don't want to ruin their brand either. But my argument always is like if you're gonna break with somebody, do your due diligence, right? Um, whenever someone has a bad feedback with us, we always try to make it right by whatever means, right? Maybe they never come back, but I can guarantee is they just got to go out somewhere, and it you just got to get burned once or twice and be like, wow, that's a terrible experience, and that's something that we have to figure out as a whole to not have, right? Like someone stealing cards, someone damaging cards, and not like giving any recourse. That the thing is we are living in the social media world, so that's we're able to kind of air that stuff out, and that prevents a lot of bad actors. Again, there's still bad actors in every single industry. I think breaking is definitely like where it gets magnified because it's dealt with a lot of trust.
yeah, no, for sure. And Brian, I'm not saying this because you are with me right now, but everyone I talk about when they bring your service, they tend to say you are one of the best in our market. So
Thank you.
That's why I was saying at the beginning, if someone wants to go in the breaking route, participate in that, Bryan is probably the right guy. And actually, something that I believe my viewers may enjoy is that you created a Discord fairly recently, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, feel free to share. I will try to leave the link below the video. You probably also have that link on your profile on Instagram, but feel free to share your
Yeah.
Discord. What's the goal with that Discord, etc.
Yeah, that's that. Thank you so much for plugging all this stuff for us, Andre. So
No,
we
all
do have
good.
a Discord with Troy, and basically we just want to just build a spot where it's accessible. I think what happens is people want to connect with us or whoever runs the account. Just make it more accessible, right? Connecting all these buyers, all these people that want to know information. There's people that are really smart, like Andre, James, all these guys that know their stuff that you can ask questions in, and you can get your answers, and get your answers from them, right? And it makes it easier. So that's kind of like the idea with
Is
our Discords.
right? Troy is also participating on the breaks, or is just a partnership on the Discord? If you
Partnership
can
in
share,
Discord. Yeah, partnership
just
Discord.
Discord.
Maybe one day. We're trying to work on something right now. So it's never. No, we're trying to work on something. So
Look, you should put Troy on the grading. You break, he
grading.
grades, and you are a one-stop shop.
One stop
Honestly,
shop closing cards.
honestly, that
So.
that 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 would be good. No, not gonna lie. I mean,
Yeah. That's actually yeah. It's funny
okay,
that you mentioned that, but yeah. But
because
yeah. So
people
go
trust you guys, and I would feel much more comfortable grading and breaking with you and Troy than a random guy on internet. So honestly, that
Yeah.
could be
So
something, right?
there we go. There you go. Andre gets 10% of the idea.
Yeah, 10%. But yeah, moving on to the question number 4. And the last one, like I said, is a relative question by itself. And this one is no different. But how do you deal with ethics/morals when breaking? Since there is a lot of similarities to gambling. To be fair, already talked about this. But any advice you could provide, let's say, to a new guy that is entering the hobby, sees your Instagram and may thinks, okay, I'm going to participate in one of his breaks on Obsidian or something like that. If you could give one advice, for example, what advice would that be?
probably it's tough to give just one advice, but I will say if you start off your question, the ROI, or if I should be breaking, I'm literally going to be telling you no. Okay. It's not for you. There is value breaking where people could figure out, what's a mispriced team. You play your odds and you can make money from it. That's a little bit more like higher level that I don't really participate in, right? But I do, there's been situations where I understand that some people, one thing we have to balance in breaking or in just in general, right, as a business, like don't try to play God, right? Everyone's an adult. We're not here to tell you what to do.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
like
Everyone
yeah,
is at this point. Everyone. I mean, there is also a lot of people that try to excuse putting the blame on the creator. And to be fair, I believe we have some moral obligation. But at the end
of
of the
course,
day,
yeah.
everyone is a man or a girl. I don't know. But you get the point, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think the truth always will come out regardless if you start trying to take advantage of anybody. No matter what happens, right? Like it's gonna come out somewhere. That's why we're very, very just keep it transparent, keep it if there's an issue, we want to resolve it ASAP. But yeah, like I would say if anyone that wants to get into breaking, focus on the experience part of it, right? There's obviously box prices are very expensive. So you can buy a box for yourself if you want to. You can buy singles. That's a lot cheaper experience, right? But it's a different experience. Whereas breaking, it's like there's a group of people that we all hang out with, right? And
Okay.
it's essentially playing video games with FIFA Ultimate Team, just buying packs, right? So it's a very similar experience. That's why I like to kind of like make it very clear to people. And it's weird, right? Because as usually as breaking, that's almost like you're kind of like going against yourself. But like I think the space is big enough where I don't need to convince you to break. Like that, that's not my motto right now or at
And
all.
and Brian, just for my viewers to know, where do you break? I know I see you live from time to time on whatnot, also on your YouTube channel. Do you break live on Instagram, for example?
No Instagram. We just do it on Whatnot and YouTube for now.
Okay.
But we're going to be expanding other social media platforms. Yeah. So
You can do it even on Discord eventually if
this
that
would be
grows.
pretty cool. They'll be yeah. They have a voice channel. That'll be kind of wild. I can hear everybody like that's crying.
Yeah, that would be actually quite amazing. And
Oh man.
just to basically completely close this topic around the breaking, but you have a team right now. One of the guys I know well and I like him a lot. Will the other guy I believe is John, right?
Yeah, his name is John. Yeah, he
Jo-
breaks us well.
John, I don't know him, but from what I see of him in your podcast, that by the way should be a bit more regular. He also seems a great guy, so that's why I completely don't mind to share out your breaking service because even the team seems an amazing one.
Yeah, man, they're great. Like it's literally them running it. I am just there to make sure nothing blows up. That's it. That's really what it is. But yeah, man, breaking that's the thing. We want to provide a product and service to the best of our abilities. And everything in life, right? There's winners and losers, right? Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. So and we like to make it very clear. So
Okay. So the last question, Brian, and this is a free question, basically. Your hot take slash unpopular opinion about the soccer card market, about the hobby in general, is totally up to you.
okay, all right. So this is
Something
your
crazy.
space. This is your space, Andre. Okay, I get scared buying pre-modern. I'm gonna say it.
Okay,
Okay.
expand a bit.
So I feel like when I buy pre-modern, and let's say I think there's a actual scarce it's like the condition scarcity, right? I don't know how true that actually is. Um, I'm just trying to think of an example because I haven't really touched pre-modern in a minute, right? And I guess I want to ask you like, how do we determine it's actually that scarce? Like, I feel like sometimes it's almost catching a falling knife, but that's every single. But pre-modern, like in modern, there's numbered cards, right, to kind of safeguard you. With pre-modern, how do you navigate that space? If someone wants to buy something that doesn't want to overpay, right?
Okay.
Nobody likes to overpay.
Brian, I think first your concern is totally valid and is a concern that I also tend to have. But I will try to give almost a quick guide to buy pre-modern in a smart way. First thing, you have to buy things that are iconic because cards that are iconic, they have a special market. I don't care about the pop. That's the first thing. The second thing is about rarity. So I'm almost contradicting myself in the first and the second. And to determine rarity in pre-modern is really, really difficult because some things may have zero rarity in the sense that no condition rarity, no true rarity. Other things may actually have condition rarity. The Messi 7 on base is a good example. The PSA 9 pop is still fairly low. The PSA 10 very difficult to find, but of course still fairly low. But there is a bunch of examples like that. Now, one tip that I would give to everyone listening, and to be fair, my viewers at this point should know this, is in pre-modern, try to look at things that are explored, first of all, because if a new rookie appears on the market from France, for example, be careful because probably more will still appear, but also have in mind the country the card is appearing, because if the card is appearing in Italy, that's most likely will be common because the collector culture in Italy was huge. But if you look at the Portuguese releases, Belgium releases, they tend to be much more difficult to find. So most likely there will be a stronger rarity. Take a look at Cristiano Ronaldo rookies versus Messi rookies. The Cristiano Ronaldo pop is still quite lower. For example, the Mega Cracks is quite more rare than the Mega Cracks for 7 on bis. In terms of condition rarity, the 7 on bis is actually rarer than the Mega Cracks for Ronaldo. That's why things are complex. But in general, the Portuguese stuff tends to be a bit more rare. And I would say talk with collectors. For example, join my Discord, ask questions there, because that's very important. I mean, there is... look, I get surprised from time to time in a positive and in a negative way. Sometimes I think, I don't even think this is that rare. One example, Benzema McDonald's, the rookie when appeared, I thought, honestly, I thought maybe more will appear. But if you actually look at the pop, it's still fairly low, So I remember buying Xavi ST sticker, and I knew was not super rare, but I thought was more rare than eventually ended up happening. I posted one, and all of a sudden more starting it in eBay, and I thought, oh man, there is more than I thought. So you have to understand that you have to be careful, but this logic should be applied even in modern, in vintage, everything. You need to be careful. And the final tip, and I think this is one of the most important ones, is if a player just have one rookie, I think that's a big plus. Zidane is a good example. The Zidane pop is around 100, but come on, we are talking about Zidane, and Zidane have one rookie. Think about all of these new guys, Bellingham, Pedri, whatever. They have imagine if they had one rookie, people would go crazy. And we have an all-time great like Zidane, that Ronaldinho, another example, Van Basten, another example. So that's what Messi, even though the Messi market is a very special one, but Messi have 7 rookies plus a couple of variations. So, but again, does not mean that the Messi market is a bad market. You just have to navigate a bit different, probably focusing more on condition rarity, on rookies that you believe will do better long term. But to finalize my thoughts, it's a scary market. It's also a fascinating one. Look, the best thing modern have is true rarity, even though it is manufactured rarity, but it's true rarity. But in the other end, I mean, you also don't have true rarity, because if a player have a bunch of sets and there is a bunch of out of 50s, that's also not a rare card. So not an easy market to navigate in general. That's why cards are more difficult than people realize.
Yeah. So it's basically being contextual, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Just being contextual, just understanding.
Every case is a case, basically.
Yeah. It's case by case basis. Don't apply it to every single one of it. And I guess that's what makes the fun out of pre-modern, right? Trying to predict that, trying to figure out, right? But yeah, I would definitely. I want to say, because I know you have good counterpoints to it, and I'm sure there's other people that are wondering about it as well, right? Because like no one wants to be arbitraged, You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes pre-modern is the where you get arbitrage a lot.
Yeah, but that's weird because I agree, by the way, but that's weird because pre-modern and vintage should not be great places for arbitrage. That just means our market is still not very developed because those markets should be much more stabilized at this point than they are. I think if people want flipping, probably modern is the way to go. You know, you may get likely, you may open a one of one, something like that, but in pre-modern, but I agree, people still do, and sometimes there is crazy arbitrage in pre-modern, but I don't think long run that would be the case. You know, I think will be a market that, and to be clear, everything I said for pre-modern you could apply almost exactly for vintage. Is
Yeah,
kind of
basically,
similar.
yeah.
Vintage is a bit more rare, but you also have to be aware that there is a bit less demand since people don't have connection with the players. So see, nothing is perfect. You know, vintage have more rarity, but probably have less people interested in collecting players that they never saw. And modern, again, have some good things, but in the other hand, there is almost a fatigue, you know, that you get of modern. You think, oh my god,
Yep. Oh
I'm
yeah.
not sure
There's
if
so
I'm
many
gonna.
sets this year.
I want to buy a Bellingham. I'm not sure. Should I buy the Obsidian? Should I buy the Merlin? Should I buy the Sapphire? Because everyone tells me Sapphire is so huge in baseball. So it's really not. And let's say you even figure out you want to buy the Sapphire. Oh man, now should I buy the orange that is 25 or the gold? People believe that the gold is better, but is more common. So again, you have to enjoy it basically to find the journey good. You know.
Yeah, I think the reason why I asked or I said it is because I'm sure there's people that were in my situation that were in pre-modern that maybe not didn't have the great. I mean, I had a great time, right? When I've been was really in the world. But then you see certain things like that, right? You have great points. It's still an emerging market in some places, and also it's all contextual, right? Knowing there's certain places that don't collect, there's certain places that don't print as much, and using that, you could kind of safeguard it where you're not technically overpaying for your PC or whatever. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hey guys, sorry for interrupting this amazing conversation, but I want to share an amazing thing with you. The Talking Cards podcast also releases on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And let me be totally honest with you. If you find value on my videos, if you find value on the Talking Cards podcast, keep in mind there is a lot of hours that I put into this. And if you can help me in some way, that will be amazing. And the way I want you to help me right now is if you can go to the Apple Podcasts and leave a review, thank you so much for that. If you could do the same on the Spotify, also thank you so much for that. And yeah, that's basically it. Let's continue this conversation because this is an amazing one. Well, my friend, that's all the questions I had for today. To finalize this, actually, I have an extra one, but just a fun
The
one.
extra.
Uh, so Messi is doing quite well in US. Do you have
Yeah.
seen an impact on the market, or do you feel it's still too soon?
Oh
Oh,
man,
and I'm sorry, Brian. Apart from the impact on the market, because I believe that takes time to be fair with you. But for example, in terms of impact in American culture, do you see something or still not super relevant?
so I'm from Florida, so I'm actually in Florida right
Oh,
now. So
that's
like
nice.
we're not that far from Messi, and yeah, I mean the it's an understatement of how much attention his games are getting and where he's doing. Um, from a market perspective, right? Like that is like the hottest thing from a low. Like if you're trying to build your bankroll low end to mid end, that is moving so quick. Like it is like everybody wants a Messi card just to have,
Yeah.
which is also a unique thing, right? Just to actually have, or at least that's what I'm thinking. That I want to think that, and yeah, it is an understatement. Like it's only been what 6 games, and his impact is like insane. Everybody has Apple TV now. Like six
and
games ago, no one knew about Apple TV, bro.
and I believe Messi is getting a commission off that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. He
It's
should.
crazy.
He should at this point, man. Because like I just haven't seen. I mean, tickets. I think in Philadelphia Union, my buddy was telling me the cheapest was $500
Oh man.
for a game for a game. You know what I mean? That's unheard of in Europe.
Yo,
So
that's
yeah.
crazy money.
Yeah, but it's definitely it's funny. I was like talking to my dad. I was like, man, can you imagine like there's like kids in the States watching this happen right now?
Yeah.
So like seeing that, I'm really curious to see what's the impact. Like I feel like an old head now, like seeing the impact in 10 years when he retires and these kids that watch Messi play, like hopefully one of them could turn into close to that type of player, you know?
I find it a bit unreal that he's playing in America still, because low key, you guys may have the best player in the world right now, because
Bro,
Messi,
it's he's
Messi is
happy.
probably going to win the Ballon d'Or. You know, so it's. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true. He's gonna be the Ballon d'Or winner. He's
it's
gonna be a Ballon
between
d'Or
him
winner.
and Haaland, and I think Messi is the favorite right now. So
Oh, for
that's
sure. And it's like you look at like how MLS is prioritizing all this. It's just incredible because Copa America's coming as well in the States. He's happy, right? You could tell he's so much more happier.
Brian.
At least, right?
You may not believe it, but I watched all the games, and I never thought I would be watching
Like, why are you
Miami.
watching the MLS? You
But
know,
but
like no one watches MLS now. Everybody wants to watch
but the
MLS.
games have been amazing. I mean, 4-4, 4-3. I was like, oh my god, I'm never watching Europe again. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
stay MLS fan. No, but really, the games have been quite fun to watch, and not just because of that helps, of course, but even there is other guys in the team that I thought, oh, those guys are actually decent. I don't remember one of, yeah, whatever. I believe it's Taylor or something. That
Tyler or
is
something.
yeah, I don't know, but the guy is
Joe
playing very
Bob.
well, and I'm actually enjoying this messy journey quite a lot.
Yeah.
And Brian, still related with this, you probably saw the Neymar move to
Yeah.
Saudi. That's a bit disappointing, right?
Man, I hate to be that guy. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people feel disappointed, right? Because
Yeah,
I much would have rather him go to MLS for obviously for
no,
obvious reasons.
much better. I mean,
Like
for
I
the
just think
card
they would have
market,
marketed
much
him.
better.
Yeah, for card market because most of the customers are in the US. But yeah, that him going to Saudi Arabia, it's like a knife, like just in, you know what I mean? Just into anybody that really was hoping for him to have a breakout season. So it's like, but you never know, right? Let's see what Saudi Arabia
Yeah,
does. I'm always open to, you know, I don't want to judge anything. Like if they could make a competitive league, I guess, then so be it, right? Because I think it sucks, but I always like competition. I always like to see competition because then everybody has to become better as a whole.
yeah, I agree. I mean, who knows? But yeah, look, Ronaldo going there, I thought made sense. I mean, the guy
Yeah,
is
for him makes sense. Yeah.
he won a lot. He's one of the gods. But for Neymar, specific because there was so many news about him probably joining Barcelona, and I thought, oh man, this may be the time that Neymar, because if Neymar goes to Barcelona, he's the biggest star there. And imagine Barcelona with Pedri, Lewandowski, Neymar, they could be a contender for Champions League. And I thought this could be the time that Neymar actually gains his space in, because at PSG with Mbappe probably will outshine him if he stays there. But at Barcelona, I thought was a great move. And Ryan, so I'm sorry for keep putting extra questions, but this one I really want your perspective. Do you think people will go crazy for MLS stuff with Messi, specific breaking
Dude,
product?
I see.
I'm really
This
curious
is
about
where
that actually.
I think it will. I think it will because generally their prices have been pretty low. The issue is I think other people in other sports will want tops MLS as well because they have Messi, just because of the how iconic he is in our culture now. If he keeps it up, and I don't see how he doesn't keep it up, it's gonna be tops Chrome MLS is gonna be one of the hottest products, which I never thought I would ever say.
But
Unfortunately,
that's a real possibility. It's crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy
it
how
really
much
is.
one player. And I saw someone saying that, but I'm not sure if this is fake news or not. But I saw someone saying that there will be a set with on card autos and patches, Tops Dynasty or something.
Yeah,
Is
Top
this
Dynasty
is
is a possibility. It's a possibility.
that would be
They
crazy,
could do
no?
it. They have the bandwidth that he's here now, so it's like, why couldn't you do it? So
Imagine the Miami logo with honestly that card would be quite crazy. And I think in a weird way we are basically seeing what we saw with the Prism 2020 when Messi won. Because you think about, there was no reason for that Prism set to do so well with the Messi cards.
his
And
auto is so expensive.
yeah,
I look at his auto base. I just cannot believe how expensive it is.
and I kind of feel like that again, no FOMO. And please, guys, don't buy into this because I'm not buying. But makes sense looking at what other people are talking about. That the MLS stuff probably is going to do very well. And so I
Which
don't
is the
know.
most ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous conversation we're having, but it's the truth though. Like,
I
just
mean,
if it keeps
if
going up,
police
if it hits at the right time, yeah.
if policies end up doing well at one point, of course, Messi stuff will do well on MLS. I mean, it's just logic. I mean, there is a market for American collectors at the end of the day that really want things from their team, their league. So makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good for the hobby, right? People that you want more people to be exposed to this, and Topps has done a better job than Panini, I would say, to make it more mainstream.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how they intertwine that. That, like, I could see a lot of like big time influencers like marketing it. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
Again, not that my opinion in modern matters that much, but I'm a much bigger fan of Tops than Panini, and this ended up changing in the last 2 years because I was a Panini fan because Panini have a lot of history with soccer.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I like the modern product on Tops much more. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I'm not a big fan of Prism, for example. I like Tops Chrome or Sapphire a bit more. And I feel like the stuff they do with Merlin, with Stadium, I think is a bit more unique. But that's just me, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. My pushback would be that I like that Topps is trying to do new inserts. I think the inserts and case hits for Panini are way more iconic, which I think really
Like
carries
the
some weight.
Kaboom stuff, etc.
Yeah,
Right?
Kaboom. Like, what? Tell me a better insert for Kaboom, right? You know what I mean? Like,
The
there's maybe one or
the
two, but they're all Panini though.
the new insert, I believe is new at least. The new insert in Select, the stained glass or something.
Oh, stained glass, man.
That,
I
that,
like
that
it. Do you
stuff.
like it?
I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of looking, it's crazy. It looks amazing, but the
Yeah.
prices are ridiculous.
Oh,
No,
prices are expensive. Yeah, especially for La Liga because they're so short printed. But yeah, I think that's my only counter argument. Everything else, Topps, it seems like they take big W's, but I think the biggest L right now is like Topps needs to figure out like
inserts, right?
inserts
No,
like
that's a
just are
good point
iconic.
actually, because you are right. The iconic
Color
inserts in
blast, white color
Color
blast,
Blast,
black color
Kaboom,
blast,
Landmarks, the Steiner. Yeah, you are kind of right on that.
landmarks, right? Like what does Topps have right now? And like I like the Renaissance, I like the Jogo Bonito, but like
Yeah,
they're
but
good. They're not
they
great yet.
and for me, I believe one of the reasons is they make them numbers. If they really made them instead of there is no numbered cards. To be fair, Panini also makes the Kaboom's numbers right now. But let's say like Panini did in the past, there is no numbered cards of the Joga Bonito, and is
Oh, there is. It's just like they make it more complicated because
they make it
they
more
have so much.
complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, they make it more complicated. I think that's the issue. But no, they're trying though. That's why I like having two companies trying to duke it out because they always have to figure out how to be better than each other. And ultimately is a big W for consumers.
No, I agree. No, and that's a great point. Yeah, Panini, in terms of inserts, all of them are not all of them, but most of them end up doing quite great. Bryan, thank you so much for accepting the invite once again. It was always a pleasure to have you on. I thought you did a great job answering all the questions. Feel free to share some final thoughts.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Andre, for having us on, man. But yeah, check out our Instagram, YouTube, or Discord as well, Sunday League Investors. And yeah, man, we love to have a good time. If you have any questions, let me know. If I can't answer your question, I will direct you back to Andre.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bryan. Guys,
See you guys.
thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to leave a like and see you guys next time. Bye.